For someone who spends like so much of their time making their life with mental illness public, um, I guess I've always kind of believed that we should talk about what's going on with us really openly and honestly. And when I became sick, it was kind of no different. And I've sort of made it a point in my life to talk on social media through my Instagram, Facebook, and my YouTube channels about what is going on with me. But it's not just something that I post on social media for the world to see. It's something that I really practice in everyday life. And I think everyone should really talk openly and honestly about our mental health. And even though I do, I really understand the reasons why people don't. And I just wanted to talk about some of the reasons why I kind of wished that I had never had spoken about my mental health openly and honestly, not just in a really public way, but in my own life. And even though I frequently question my decision to do that, I am glad that I have, but it definitely hasn't come at a cost to myself. So I completely understand those people who are sitting at home wondering whether or not they should reach out and they should, disclose their mental illness to employers, to friends and family, to even your partners, or even talk about it on social media. And you don't have to talk about it on social media, to still discuss it in a really raw, open and honest way. But there is a stigma around it. There really is negative side effects about talking about it, It never really occurred to me not to talk about it openly and honestly, but one thing I did really observe was the way that people treated me as a result. Most people didn't want to hear it. And the people that did hear it totally didn't understand it, or they used their words, my own words against me. And I think it's really hard when you're battling sort of like mood disorders and you try and explain to someone what's going on and how you're feeling in that moment. And they sort of take that as how you're feeling all the time. But it's like how I was feeling yesterday is completely different to how I'm feeling today. I snapped at someone yesterday for something, and then today, we're all walking on eggshells. And I'm like, no, it's fine. You can do that today. It's not an issue. So they don't really know how to react around me. So you think that, being really specific and having the ability that I have to express myself would be a really great tool in understanding, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's really not enough. And I think it was like the first time when I was in a really abusive relationship, and I was like, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna call the police, I'm gonna tell them the things that you have done to me. And the person that I cared most about at the world at the time just turned to me and he said, they won't believe you because you're bipolar. He said, I'm going to call every single one of your doctors, I'm going to call every single one of your therapists, and I'm going to use that as ammunition against you. Just remember, every single person in your life that you have ever spoken to about your mental illness, that you have ever disclosed the fact that you are mentally unwell, I will call upon every single one of them in a court of law. I will call upon every single one of them to discredit you. Because you are mentally ill, then you can be abused because nobody will believe you. Because there's this stigma around mentally ill people making up all of this stuff, being psychotic, being unreasonable, being a liar, stating all of these things that, fabricating truths, fabricating all of these lies. And that has never been me. I've never been psychotic, and I've never made anything up. What I experience is real. And that wasn't the first and it wasn't the last time, but it was certainly the most horrifying experience I had. I realized that by simply seeking treatment, by simply going to therapy, by simply doing the right thing and trying to help myself, I had created a weapon. I had created a paper trail that documented my illness in such great detail that it could be used against me. That it could be used against me by anyone that was willing to do it. And no one was off limits. Even the people who cared about me most would use that against me. My own family. you know, my closest friends, and, you know, my husband, my partners. People that told me that I shouldn't talk about my mental health because if I did, nobody would want to be around me. Nobody would want to know me. Because having a mental illness meant that you were so defective, that you were like this disease, this virus that people wanted to avoid because they were afraid that they could catch it. And that is so far from the truth. I think the most healthy kinds of people are people like me and people like you who are watching this video, who are mentally ill, who accept that they need help and are getting help. They are probably the most healthy, you know, well-rounded individuals that you will find, because there are as many of people that cause complete chaos, complete destruction in their life, who manipulate others, who refuse to admit that there is anything wrong with you. And when you're a borderline, or when, you know, you're sort of bipolar, you'll find that you'll be attracted to really narcissistic people, to really nasty people who will know your weaknesses and who will make a point to use them against you. And when the people that you love most are willing to inflict such pain on you and justify that by the fact that you deserve it because you have a mental illness, or the fact that nobody will believe you if you speak up about the abuse because you have a mental illness. I mean, it's like nothing is kind of off limits, you know? I don't mind telling the world about my mental illness because it's like I feel like there is such a, you know, a distance between me and them. But like when I walk down the street and there's people who are just not willing to be educated, when there's people who laugh at me and call me pathetic and call me a psycho just because they can read about the things that I express online, it really hurts me. It really makes me feel like I wish I had never admitted that I had a mental illness any time in my life. When my sister turns to me and tells me I'm just a fucking psycho, when the people around me look at me like I'm a monster, like I'm a freak, like there is something wrong with me, it really makes me wish that I had hid it, that I had kept it from the world. But in doing so, I would have kept it from myself, and I think I would have kept, you know, myself from getting something that I really need, and that is recognition of my struggle, that is help for my struggle. And I guess sometimes when I don't even get that, when people, you know, they know what's going on, but they don't believe it, or they respond to it in a really negative way, it really does make me feel like I should never have spoken about it. And I don't really know, like I keep posting and I keep talking about it because I honestly think that that is the way that it should be spoken about. And I don't want you guys to feel like you can't speak about it because people in your life are making you feel like a piece of shit because you have a mental illness, and making you feel like you need to hide it, that you are alone, that you are the only person in the world that is struggling, and that your illness doesn't matter, that your struggles don't matter because it is a secret that you have to keep. It's not. I don't want you guys to feel like that, so that's why I post. I don't mind. They can, you know, they can stab me, they can throw their bitter words at me, they can judge me, they can treat me like a piece of shit, but I will not let them do that to you guys. I will not let the world continue to treat people like me in that way. And if I have to be the sacrifice, if I have to put myself out there like a lamb for the slaughter and deal with the repercussions for speaking openly and honestly about my mental health, because I honestly think that that's the way that it should be spoken about. We should all speak about it like that. And unfortunately, we're not going to change society. We're not going to get to a place where we can speak about it openly and honestly unless more of us start doing it. And I think it's really a choice that you need to make for yourself, as much as it's been used as like a nuclear weapon against me on so many occasions. It is also the reason why I have connected with some really cool people. It is also the reason why I've been able to help myself and help so many around me in the process. It is why so many people find me approachable and open up to me about what's going on. It's also, I guess, the reason why I've managed to get so far in treatment. It's the reason why at times I have been able to maintain some form of employment. You know, should you disclose it to employers? I've disclosed it with employers, and Sometimes it's worked out really negatively for me. And sometimes it's worked out really positively. And I think it's a case-by-case basis. But when people tell me that I shouldn't talk about it, that nobody will want to be around me, that nobody will want to associate with me because I have a mental illness, I think, what difference does it make if I disclose it or I don't? If you're going to judge me negatively because I have a mental illness, then what good is hiding it? If you don't want to know me because I'm sick, because I have bipolar or borderline, or I suffer severe anxiety or PMDD or whatever it is, if you don't want to know me because that is my reality, then I don't want you to be a part of my life. And I think disclosing your mental illness really makes that line clear of the people who are willing to be there, for the people who accept you for who you are, and those who are going to reject you purely based on the fact that you have a mental illness. And if you were going to reject me because I have a mental illness, then I would rather know. I would rather talk about my mental illness and have you reject me and criticize me and stigmatize me and judge me right in front of my face than do it behind my back. I would rather practice full disclosure and let you know everything about who I am, because then I at least know that if you're there and you're still by my side and you still want to be a part of my life, then you are there because you know everything about me and you accept me for who I am. Not because of the brave face that I put onto society, not because of who I present myself to be. I'm done being fake. I never thought of myself as an actress until I realized that I'd been acting every single day of my life. I always was putting on my smile. I was always pretending like I was okay. I do it so often that I don't even realize that I'm doing it. I go into therapy, I be around people, and they're like, oh, we would have no idea that you're struggling because you hide it so well. And guess what hiding it did for me? It prevented me from getting the help that I needed. It prevented me from seeking treatment. It prevented my healthcare professionals from seeing that I needed the treatment that I really did need, because I was so good at pretending that I was okay. And I did it for so many years. I did it for so long until I got to the point where I was just so exhausted. I was so tired of being someone I wasn't. I was so tired of pretending to be this person that was okay when I really wasn't. It was like this big dirty secret stuck inside of me, and I just wanted to let it out. I just wanted people to know the truth, and when I finally did, it broke my heart how many people that didn't want to hear it. How many people that just looked at me in disbelief. How many people walked out of my life, or how many people stayed in my life and told me that I needed to stop it, that I needed to change. Who knew that there was something wrong with me, who listened to me when I said that I was unwell, and who basically told me that I needed to hide that I couldn't be well because they didn't want to be around me if I was sick. If they believed what it was I was trying to tell them, they just didn't want to be a part of my life. You know how heartbreaking that is to hear from your family, from the people closest to you. It's like I care about the people in my life so much. I would want to know if they feel the way that I feel. And to open up to the people that you care about, that should care about you, and let them know that you're not okay. And for them not to care, for them to tell you that you're making it up, or for them to tell you that mental illness isn't real, that you don't have a mental illness, that there is something wrong with you, but it's just that you're a shit person. And you should stop using your mental illness as an excuse. You should stop putting that out there into the world. Or even worse, to be told that I speak about my mental illness to get attention. I don't. I speak about it because it's a huge part of me. And maybe I would stop speaking about it. Maybe I would stop posting about it if people stopped trying to shut me up. I mean, people learn from a young age that if you tried to silence me, then I would try even harder to get my point across. If you didn't listen to me, then I would get a megaphone and I would start fucking shouting, and I was not going to shut up. And I think in a way the reason that I speak to so many people and I publicize my mental illness is because I was shut down, because I was told to shut up, because I was told not to speak about it. And you know what? That doesn't fly with me. I'm sorry. The more you try and silence me, the louder and louder I'm going to get. I'm sorry, Mum and Dad. You didn't want to talk to me about my mental health. You tried to sweep it under the carpet. You tried to ignore it. You tried to make sure that I couldn't speak about it to anyone, that my struggles weren't validated. You tried to hide it. You tried to push me away. You tried to hide me. You showed in every single way that you didn't care about what I was going through. So maybe in a way, I publicized it to the world. Maybe it got to the point where I was like, you know what, if you're not going to listen to me, then guess how I'm going to get your attention. I'm going to make sure that I get the attention of everyone in this fucking world. I'm going to make sure that everybody is listening to me so that maybe you will realize that you should have listened to me too. And I think that's what most people feel like when they're struggling with a mental illness. They're just yearning for validation. They just want someone to listen. And people can stare you in the face and they can listen to the words that you speak, but they really do not open their minds to your struggle. And they don't accept you and the struggles that you face, so therefore they're not accepting you for who you are. And I think the only way you can make that distinction is if you open your mouth and you start a conversation about it. And there is going to be a hell of a lot of rejection. And you can't control that. You need to be prepared for that, because boy, I was not prepared for that. But I think ultimately, I'm so much better off for speaking about it. Because finally my struggles are being validated, and finally I'm getting the help that I need.